Welcome to the Stickers on the Mic podcast, brought to you by StickerGiant.com, where we talk with our customers about how they started their business, how they're marketing their brand, and how they're growing their company. Without further ado, it's time for the Stickers on the Mic podcast from Sticker Giant. Let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Stickers on the Mic. It's Thanksgiving week here, and I'm very fortunate and thankful to be dialing in Todd Olson from Sumner, Washington. And Todd, you reached out to us through our marketing email, and you talked a little bit about your experience as a customer, and you said, I wanted to, chat with you a little bit about the different brands that I have and all that. And I was like, this is amazing. Thank you for reaching out. So all of you listening, marketing at StickerGiant.com is a great way to get a hold of me. And Todd, I'm just very thankful that you did that. So thanks for feeding back. It's always feels really good as someone who works at a business to get feedback like that. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Andrew.
So tell me a little bit about why you needed stickers and labels and what brought you to Sticker Giant, I guess, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I started off with a business and alcohol distillery in Tacoma, Washington. And I started out traditionally going to a label company. And there's a lot of limitations when you go to a label company as far as, what you can do, because most of their stuff is, if you want a specific shape, you have to conform to their shape standards. And I, as a kind of a graphic designer, I want to be able to make a funky label that will get people's attention, and sticking to a triangle or a rectangle or whatever the form was that they have is pretty limiting. So when I found Sticker Giant was able to do stickers, where you can freeform it and give it any kind of shape you want, that's where it just went off for me. And then being able to do clear stickers too. My thing is all about the flavor and the natural ingredients of my products. So for the liqueurs, we use fruit concentrates, and I want people to see those colors. I want them to get excited about the product before they even open it up and taste it. So being able to use clear labels from Sticker Giant and then have them see the product in the containers before they open it is the best part of it. And then for it. And
that's the Desire liqueurs that you have. And I, folks, I'm looking at the website, and you can just see like the darkness of the mocha, or the raspberry and the red, or the Tangelo with the sort of orange and yellow. So the clear does help it pop quite a bit. How did you, how can people, first of all, get the Desire product, but why did you come up with this? Why Desire liqueurs?
Well, our state, they changed the laws where you could start up distilleries in Washington, and that was back about 2010. And so a bunch of people decided, well, let's start up some distilleries. I would say about 30, 35 of them. At one point, Washington was the state with the most distilleries per capita in the United States, even more than Kentucky or back east anywhere. So most of them were going for whiskey. And when you start a whiskey distillery, you've got a 5-year lag there where you start off and then you got to put the whiskey into barrels and age it. So for those first 5 years, all the whiskey distilleries start off with vodka and gin. And we decided, well, let's not do that, because there's going to be 35 vodka and gin distilleries in Washington. We want to do something a little different. So we decided to do liqueurs and be able to mix them in with cocktails. And then whoever decided to buy, they found their favorite vodka and gin, they can still mix our products into the drinks. So that's how it started out.
Nice. So it's because of like the timing of it as well, to capture the audience. You know what I mean? So it's spelled DEZIR, but it's Desire, right?
Yeah, you got it.
A little funky there, which is kind of fun. So you went in on this with a friend, and it's like kind of the classic co-founder thing, right? Where you're like, let's do a thing, and then it happens.
Yeah. We actually, I think a little naively, we were at a Christmas party, and we had each brought I was playing around with limoncello instead of limoncello, and he had a family mocha recipe, and we brought them, unbeknownst to each other, we brought them to the Christmas party, and everybody was tasting them and loving them. So they said, well, why don't you start up a distillery in like a couple idiots, we said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that.
Right.
So that's where it started, and it just grew from there. So
that's awesome. So, but that's, as they say, not all, Todd. There's more, right? It's not just the liqueurs. You also have the honey brand Lucille's, which is on your hat for the folks who are watching or not watching. He's got the logo of the honey brand there. Tell us a little bit about Lucille's honey.
Well, Lucille started out just kind of as a lark. There was a company up in Woodinville Whiskey, that was making barrel-aged honey in their whiskey barrels. And I bought some. It was awesome. It was really good. And when I got down to about a quarter of a jar, I went back and said, hey, guys, I got to have some more of that barrel-aged honey. And they said, well, we don't make that anymore. We make barrel-aged maple syrup. And I was already using honey from local beekeepers in one of our products on the liqueur side of things. So I said, well, I know all the distillers in the area. I'll just make my own barrel-aged honey. And that's where it started. And it's kind of grown from there. I've got not only the barrel-aged honey, but I've got habanero-infused honey, a ginger-infused honey. And then last year we started selling CBD-infused honey too. So
how that's an interesting product. We're Colorado, right? We've been doing this for a long time. Washington and Colorado pretty much started the normalization process. What have you learned doing that, when just like, because the barrel aged thing doesn't even matter. That's not you don't have to have any different licensing or anything. Right. What did you have to figure out for this product?
Well, I got some really good advice when I started I started talking to people. My thing is I like to do a bunch of research and talk to the experts and people who know what's going on. So I went out and I talked to a couple guys, and they all said, well, one of them gave me some really good advice. He said, make sure that you send each of your batches to the lab and get it tested. And then you can give those test reports to people, make it available to them so they can see exactly what's in it. There's a lot of problem with companies saying there's CBD in their product, but it's not really actually in there. So by being able to provide the test reports to people, I'm able to prove that what I'm saying is in it is actually in it. And that's been a really nice marketing part of it, but also something for the customer to go back and say, yeah, I'm being transparent and that's what's in it. So it's been really nice.
So you broke off a whole URL for that. So that's lucillescbdhoney.com.
Yeah.
And the other one is Lucille's. Talk a little bit about like the need and or choice to kind of, because it's the same exact site, right? But it's different with a different domain. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is. I got some pushback from Square. I use Square as to take credit card sales, and they have a little different policy for things that were CBD versus things that don't have CBD. And they wanted to increase my the percentage that they charge, the fee that they charge for CBD things. And because all of my honeys were tied to that, they were going to increase the percentage that they take on everything. And I didn't think that was fair. So I split off the CBD into another website, and that is driven by Square. And then they charge the higher percentage for that. And then on the other side, I switched to PayPal Zettle and used that as my pay platform. And so they're charging me a lower rate for the things that don't have CBD in them.
That's super interesting. I didn't know that. I love learning new things from people like you. Because I do study it. I actually have a whole college class about reporting on marijuana and cannabis. So I'm that I teach. So I'm always interested in how, especially we see. So I wear these two hats, and then what I see here at Sticker Giant in the factory related to cannabis and CBD and marijuana products is obviously there's been an explosion for us in that space. So how long have you been doing the CBD? You said you just started
it up last year. So I'm on batch number 2 right now.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And you're able, like you said, your sort of value add is giving test results and trying to market that brand in a little bit different way than maybe other people are doing. And
it's a CBD isolate too, so there's no THC in it, and that's for people who are looking for the health benefits for CBD and they don't want to run into drug test problems. That's a viable alternative for them.
Totally. Yeah, that's a huge distinction, obviously, to make. So as you were kind of coming together for back to the general Lucille's brand, which is kind of where we diverged a little bit, how do you sort of develop the flavors, and what's that look like for you?
Well, the barrel aged, like I was just flying by the seat of my pants, right? So I put honey into a barrel, and then I would just test it every week and say, okay, yeah, well, it tastes pretty good, or it's not quite there yet. And I do that actually with every other batch now. I've refined it along the way. So now what I do is for every batch, I try to use a different local distillery's whiskey barrel. And then when the whiskey's done, when the honey's done in the barrels, they send the barrels off to local breweries. Right. And then breweries do batches of beer in them. And that's been really fun too, to kind of get in touch with all the local breweries and the brewers.
It's like a Firkin then or whatever, right? Like it's a one-off. They probably just
they just do a single batch. Yeah. So actually batch number 3 went down to 10 barrel in Oregon. And they're huge. Anheuser-Busch owns them. So
oh, wow, cool, man. That's good for you.
Yeah, they got this little funky offshoot that they just do barrel projects. So they just get barrels from everywhere and do kinds of cool things with them. It's a way to experiment and have fun. So that's been a lot of fun. And then when the barrels are done at the breweries, I send them off to a local craftsman who takes them apart and makes furniture out of them.
That's a pretty cool life cycle for that story.
Yeah. And people really love being involved with that whole cycle too. And now we're actually pushing people towards Paul, who's doing the furniture, and he's going to start making custom pieces for people too. And they'll be able to
start making the bee things. Anyway, there's a lot. There's a whole. You probably could productize that thing quite a lot if you really wanted to. So we've talked about liqueur. We've talked about honey. What else is there, Todd? What else is going on with you?
Well, one of the other projects I have, a buddy of mine and I, he lives in Australia, and we decided, well, he was asking if it would be good to bring one of my brands down there. And I said, well, rather than do that, why don't we, because all the shipping and everything, it would be interesting to just create a different product that's made down in Australia.
Of course. So
we're doing canned cocktails down there under the Laneway Cocktails brand.
Oh, cool.
It's lanewaycocktails.com.au. And again, using Sticker Giant labels. Right. Got to use those clear labels. They got a really nice lineup on all of ours. We got a margarita, a mojito, a cosmopolitan, a sex on the beach, and Negroni are the first 5 flavors.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, Laneway. So it's Laneway. So those are in a clear bottle. That's why I was like, what's the clear? Aren't they in cans? Because that's what everyone does here. They can it, but these are in a bottle with a screw top.
Yeah, and they're 100 mils, so they're just double the size of those little airline bottles that you get.
Okay,
and it's already pre-mixed, so all you got to do is just really pour it over ice.
That is one of the wildest trends that it's not new. It's years of it now, but like the craft, I don't buy them a lot, but I just really like the sort of like one-off cocktail brand things now. That was really a not specific, but I've seen the category really expand in specific ways, especially in our customer base, So how did you already had the liqueur experience, and you obviously know how to do like packaging with honey, but what was the product development on this brand, to sort of break that down a little bit?
Basically it was my buddy whose name is also Todd. So it's Todd and Todd. He's a old fraternity brother of mine. He came up one Christmas and we just went to the shop and knocked out the flavors. He looked up all of the top 10 most popular mixed cocktails in Australia. And then that's where we started and just developed our formulas from what those top 10 were.
Like Negronis are popular then. I mean, they're very popular now in general, and I don't mind them. It's just it's like front and center on your page. So that's like a very specific type of cocktail.
It's drinker. Like if you don't have a Negroni in Australia, then you're not a real cocktail provider or whatever.
Sure.
It's interesting though, because I'm not a big fan of the Negroni.
It's a little too bitter for me, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a one, if it's like if you're at the place like the Italian place or whatever, you're like, I'll have a Negroni. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not, and like the Aperol Spritz trend, that's just not my kind of drink. But margaritas here in Colorado are huge, right? And so we see everyone has every brewery around here has some sort of margarita product. You just have to, right? Mojito is fun, but I like them a lot, but we don't see a ton of them here. And then Cosmos and Sex on the Beach these are all very specific needs for people. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, we had a bet going. So because I don't like the Negroni, I said, because he wanted to keep it in the lineup. And I said, well, I'm going to do you a little bet. So we're going to have a bet on which one's going to sell the best. We were offering the 5-pack. So all 5 were available in 1 pack, each of the flavors. And then we broke off and started offering individual flavors in a 3-pack. And I said, I'm going to make you a bet. I think the Negroni is going to be the worst selling of all 5. And he says, well, which one do you think is going to be the best? And I said, well, anyone other than the Negroni. He said, no, you got to pick one. So I picked Margarita. And actually that turned out to be, we just yesterday sold the last 8 3-packs that we had in stock of the Margarita. And a Negroni, it's only sold one. It's only sold
so you
one.
lost the bet. But the question is...
No, I won the bet.
Oh, I'm sorry, you won the bet. He lost the bet. The way... I just lost first of all, I love the site. The design of that site's really fun. Oh, the question was why 3-packs, or like, what is it about the packaging of alcohol in Australia? Obviously I have no idea. So like why those sort of sizes and all that? Oh yeah. It's, I did it based, alcohol in Australia is very expensive. Okay. So that 5-pack is, with the 100 milliliter bottles. Now keep in your mind that the 100 mil is just that, double the size of the airline bottles, the little one. Mm-hmm. So there's 500 mils, which is less than a 750 milliliter regular bottle. That goes for $75, which is like $55 here in America. Yeah, it's pretty expensive. Right. So I wanted to do something that was, if somebody wanted specific flavors, they were buying the 5-pack to get one specific. I wanted them to be able to do that and to make a big enough price break between the 5-pack and the 3-pack. A 4-pack wouldn't do it, but a 3-pack did. So that was the nice price break. I understand. That's why we started offering the 3-packs. And people can get those, it looks like, online at Dan Murphy's or whatever that is. Yeah, Dan Murphy's is the huge, they're like Total Wine and Costco combined down there for alcohol. Anytime you want to go buy alcohol in Australia, they've got online stores and they also have brick and mortar stores. Wow. So yeah, they approached us and said, hey, would you be interested in putting your stuff on our online? And then if it sells well, we'll transition you over and start putting you into our brick and mortar stores. So we said, of course, we'd love to do that. And it's taken off really well. It's been good so far. Good. That's great to hear. That's kind of fun. So that's 4 different brands. We've covered a lot of ground here. Yeah. So you use the clear labels on a lot of stuff. What else are you using? I do. So I've got a jar of the honey right here. Yay. And I'm using a hexagonal jar. It's kind of a odd shaped. So being able to put a label on this thing is really, it's not something. It's hard enough with a curved surface, just one continuous. So, actually I peeled one off here so you guys could see it. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, look at the way that's set up. See how I've cut it so that it'll wrap around and then on the edges of the jar. And Sticker Giant makes that possible because they don't charge me anything for that. All I give them is a laser cut line and they cut that shape to whatever I want. And then that conforms to the jar perfectly. Yeah. Goes all the way around there. That's fine. I don't just use clear. I use the other stickers too. Oh, yeah. And that's my lid label where I'll put the batch number for each of the batches on. And then on my website, you can see for the barrel aged, which local honey provider I sourced the honey from, which distillery the barrel came from, which brewery the barrel went to, and then when the furniture gets made, we put that up online too. Oh, that's fun. Yeah. So that's a lot on that label. I get I made little bee stickers, and I give those out to kids when we're doing the tastings at the farmers market. I mean, if there's something, I even talk to people at the farmers market that are doing labels, if they've got something that they could benefit from, maybe they're making a stamp or they're printing them out on their printer right now. I send them all to Sticker Giant, say, hey, just go on the website, because it's really easy to go on there, put in your shape or at least your dimensions of your label. And then you click, it gives you the prices and the breakdown for the multiple quantities. And you can see and decide real easily what, before you even place an order, right? It just tells you everything. And you guys just make it really easy to buy labels. So Oh, we appreciate that. But what was I going to say? So we've got a full mix. The farmers markets, that was actually my next question. Other than like where you can get them online, what kind of local presence? I mean, you mentioned farmers markets, of course, but that's in a way. Well, I used to work at the farmers market here in Longmont, and I have a whole story around farmers markets. I love them. I grew up down the street from one in Oak Park, Illinois, and it's kind of a legendary farmers market in the Chicago area, which there weren't a lot of them when I was growing up. This is 30-some years ago, right? So farmers markets are near and dear to my heart. And just explain to me, like, what's your farmers market strategy, you know?
Well, the farmers market's been great too. I mean, you get a lot of people going through. You've really got to define your sales pitch. You got to get it. You got to kind of capture people, within like a minute. You have to be able to capture them and make them decide to come over and try your stuff. Sampling has been great, being able to give samples. And I tell people, because I focus on flavor and the quality of the products, I really don't have to sell it. It pretty much sells itself. So I tell people when I'm at the farmer's market, I'm just the sample monkey. I just give you the sample and then you decide. And of all of those flavors, they'll find something that somebody likes out of them. Right. Usually they go away with 2 or 3 different ones. So
nice.
Yeah, but that's been the start of things, and kind of refining the sales pitch and everything else, and then getting flavors. One of the greatest things happened at the farmers market was with the ginger infused. I was just doing the barrel aged and the habanero infused, and a lady came up to me and said, "Hey, do you do ginger infused honey?" And I said, "Not yet." So that's where that came from. Just a suggestion from somebody, and it's turned out to be, it's probably our second bestseller, tied with the habanero. I mean, it just depends on the day which one's going to win, habanero or ginger. But they're both very, very unique and used for different things. So that's where I don't want to, I kind of want to not overlap them too much. Honey is generally a category, but you really use them for different things. Different flavor profiles go for different things. So I don't want to overlap too much on my products. So going forward, I won't do anything that kind of, takes away from what I've got now.
Right. That's awesome. So what's next? Well,
I guess we're just going to keep plugging away. I'm trying to get into some more stores, some more brick and mortar stores. I'm going to start approaching places like Whole Foods and Metropolitan Market. Those, kind of the foodie areas, people that are looking for some gourmet, different honeys to do things with. That's where we're going to focus on getting into some stores and that kind of thing. And then hopefully I'm talking to some people now about setting up franchising. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast episode, maybe.
Yeah.
That's like a deep dive. I look forward to seeing that. Well, thank you so much for reaching out to us. We of course love sharing customer stories. That's what we do here at Sticker Giants.
And I appreciate what you guys do. You make it real easy to get stuff. And, for people who are creating products, you're going to go through a bunch of iterations of your labels, and you're going to have to change them. And that was another frustration with the label companies that when I was making small tweaks to things, they were charging me another art fee on top of everything. And you guys don't do that either. I mean, you look at it just as a file that comes in and just treat it as a specific file. And so being able to change and tweak my labels to make them just right and not be charged that extra I appreciate that from a business standpoint for what you guys do and what you offer, your services you offer. So thank you.
Nice. Right on. Well, folks, especially longtime listeners, which I hope there's some of you, we always say every sticker has a story on the show at the end. And today it's Todd's multiple stickers and labels across different brands and even continents, right? So you're representing obviously the USA here, but then you've got the project in Australia, which is pretty exciting. So.
Yeah. Well, I think when we get that one up and running where it's big time, we'll have to go down and do some taste testing, don't you think?
I like the sound of that. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Be well, be safe. And we're moving into the holiday season here on the show, and in the business too. We see obviously a lot of it. So what are your what kind of holiday market plans? Like where what does that look like for you to end the year, Todd?
Well, I just had one last weekend where it was a kind of set up like a European holiday market, and lots of vendors. It was great. It was a Friday night and Saturday afternoon, evening type of thing. Just kind of getting those holiday markets in, trying to get some things, last minute gifts, make great stocking stuffers, that kind of thing. So just trying to help people out with their holiday shopping and their holiday baking.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
you can use the honey for that, and then of course toasts to the holidays. So thanks again, Todd. Thanks everybody for listening. It's always my pleasure to be Andrew here on the show and talk to all of you. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening.
That wraps up this episode of Stickers on the Mic, brought to you by StickerGiant.com. You can download us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcatcher. Thanks again for listening to Stickers on the Mic. We'll see you next time.